All right, we're good. Are you good? Yep, good. All right.
All right, I am Dennis Wharton. I'm a member of jailforjudges.org. I'm affiliated with that group. I'm also one of the co-founders of Liberators 11. My primary purpose with the group is teaching Constitution, sovereignty, political jurisdiction. As Loma said, I'm involved with Eugene Pringle in this traffic issue, ongoing in the courts, so to speak, in the trenches with him.
So you've been taken to
I've been to jail 3 or 4 times. I can't remember exactly now.
Just over
traffic
violations.
Yes, I've been arrested twice for DUI. Drunk neither time, simply because one, he assumed that I had been drinking. So I went and did. The story behind that is, I got pulled over. He did a field sobriety for him, which I told him I didn't agree with. Did it anyway. He thought I was still intoxicated, so he took me to jail. Demanded that I blow. I blew a .01. And then he wanted me to take a urinalysis, so I took a urinalysis. But after I came out of the breathalyzer, I told and this was in Douglas County Jail. I told him that I told you that I was not guilty of drunk driving, and one of the bailiffs there said, the jailer says, "Well, yes, you are." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Somewhere in the last 5 minutes, they just tear up the Constitution, and I lost my rights." I said, "As far as I know, I'm innocent until proven guilty." And I told them, every one of them right there, openly, I said, "This is the last time I'll do this. It's a direct violation of my 4th Amendment rights. I will never do it again." So, next time it happened, I ended up in jail because I refused. They took my license, and I fought them in court for over a year. I've also been stopped and arrested for failure to carry and present. Now, if you want to see something that is close to Stalinistic, your papers please, German, there it is. They require that you, and it's commercial, and I, they don't, for some reason they don't understand that, but I certainly do. They arrested me for not identifying myself in a manner in which they deemed proper. And what I did was I said, well, he asked me when my birthday was because I didn't have a driver's license because they'd taken it. And I said, I don't know when I was born, because none of us know when we're born. We have no cognitive recognition of that because we don't have that ability then. I said, "You're asking me a legal question. I'm giving you a lawful answer." I says, I'm telling you truthfully, I don't know when I was born." So he just cuffed me and put me in the car. And he came back and he asked me again. I says, "I already told you." I says, "How do you know when you were born?" "The same way you do." I says, "Then you don't know when you were born." So he took me to jail. He kept me in jail overnight when he was supposed to release me after he found out who I was, which was about 10:30. I stayed there all night. So.
Can you tell us about your constitutional classes and sovereignty?
My constitutional classes are somewhat different than Max because he has a Supreme Court case that he can base his on. The last class I taught, I went clean back to Aristotle, and I gave a basic premise of where the fundamental principles of this country came from. They came from Aristotle, and there's many others through there, but Aristotle, 3 primary. Aristotle, St. Thomas Aquinas, John Locke. Those are the 3 most influential people in our founding fathers' lives, and their political lives, as well as their personal lives. So I brought that all forward, and then I tie it into the Constitution and how it works, what those principles do, how they fit into the Constitution.
And your classes on sovereignty?
Well, sovereignty stems from the same thing. St. Thomas Aquinas was the one who established that premise. Aristotle originally come up with the concept of man, rational man, and the individual. St. Thomas Aquinas took that principle and took it further. to the fact that what he said was that man, even though he is an individual, he is a multifaceted being. But they all stem from the singular root. So therefore, sovereignty lies in the individual. In other words, everything that we do stems from us as a human being, an individual human being. And that started the premise. And he actually reinstituted Aristotle's reason into the end of the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages. Brought us forward to where we're at today. And that's how I tie sovereignty in to bring it forward, is because it came from St. Thomas Aquinas. John Locke was instrumental in bringing those things forward too.
I agree.
So,
You teach about John Locke too in your.
I do. I teach about John Locke, and I tie John Locke specifically to them because Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas are kind of removed, but John Locke brought those principles, and he was never here on this land, but a lot of his writings and stuff came over here with the founders. And so, and there was a lot of communication. Plus, of course, Thomas Jefferson made numerous trips back and forth across the ocean. I don't know how he did that in them days, but it had to be an arduous trip.
Yeah.
So that's how I tied John Locke to them. But there's a concept that not too many people understand. That sovereignty, there's another jurisdiction that comes with sovereignty. And it's never talked about. It's not in the Constitution. Our founding fathers never even come up with this basic principle, although it is touched on throughout all their writings. And a gentleman that I had the pleasure of being introduced to, Eric Williams, who now calls himself Eric, Who Are You? He turned me on to political jurisdiction. And political jurisdiction is our relationship to the government. Directly. Our jurisdiction is superior to the government, always has been, because this is the concept. If you look at our Creator, how can the creation ever become greater than the Creator? Well, that's an impossibility. The only thing we could possibly hope to do would be become His equal. All right? So, and it's stated in many, many Supreme Court cases as to that especially in Chief Justice John J. Chisholm versus Georgia, quite clearly states that at best, government is equal in the sovereignty. So political jurisdiction is my relationship to the government. I created the government, so therefore I am superior to the government.
Does your place of birth make you a citizen of where?
Place of birth makes me a citizen of nothing. That brings up the term of citizen of the United States, right, and citizen of the state. If you look at the Constitution and you look at the Constitution of the states and of the federal government, those are contracts, right? How can a contract written 200 years ago bind me? Well, it doesn't unless I accept it. I have to willingly accept it, all right? So there's a lot of controversy over the 14th Amendment, for example, and the citizenship clause in the 14th Amendment, the first time the citizenship has really been established anywhere within the constitutional foundation. Yes, the United States citizen, all right? Now, the United States is quite clear in their law as well as in other writings that and especially in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 clearly states that it is the 10 square miles of Washington, D.C. All right? So I wasn't born in Washington, D.C., so I'm not a U.S. citizen. That's right. I was born within the boundaries of the state, but where is it that means that I am a citizen of that state? Well, it doesn't. I'm an American. I was born on American soil. There's no place in the ground anywhere where I see any lines drawn for a state or the United States for that matter. They're all imaginary lines drawn on a map. So nature doesn't recognize those things. I am a creature of nature. And just because I have the rational ability to understand that and put it in and articulate it and put it on paper doesn't change anything, the fact that I am a creature of nature. So.
Are you a fan of Lysander Spooner?
I've read some of his works, and as a matter of fact, Eric Williams is very much, he's a Lysander Spooner anarchist, as he
Oh, I
calls
see.
himself. Yes,
He
he is
does
a
the Constitution.
he is a total sovereign. That gentleman. I spent 3 years listening to his radio show. I've never met the man personally, although I would love to. I was going to go visit him once, but we have had many hour-long conversations on the phone. Very intelligent gentleman. He's also established a way to convert the Federal Reserve into a paper monetary system that will fund the government without taxation. Take it away from the Federal Reserve, turn it over to the states. It's quite unique.
It is.
It's quite unique.
Anything else?
All right, thanks.
You bet.
Thanks.